I know y'all missed me. I'm gonna be honest. We got snowed in. I'm just leaving the boxing gym. I wasn't able to train because it was shut down. Everything still snowed in. I should have called them before I, came outside. But long story short, so me and the baby, we grabbing something to eat real quick. After I eat, I'm going to this indoor track. I'm going to run. I took off for a couple days.
Nobody had this on their timeline bingo card. Just when people thought Chrisean Rock headlines couldn't get more chaotic, more unpredictable, or more side-eye worthy, she dropped a plot twist that made the internet stop mid-scroll, training with Claressa Shields ahead of a boxing fight. Not a rumor, not a joke, not influencer cardio with cute gloves and cameras. Claressa Shields undisputed, undefeated, and absolutely not here for nonsense. And that's when the whispers started. Because linking your name with Claressa isn't a flex, it's a declaration. It's the difference between playing fighter and stepping into a space where excuses get punched out of you daily. Suddenly, this wasn't about Chrisean chasing clout. It felt like she knew something the internet didn't. Like a door quietly opened behind the scenes and only now did the public notice. The internet froze for half a second, then completely lost its mind. Fans argued this was growth. Critics called it reckless. Boxing purists clutched their gloves. Memes flew. Opinions hardened. And one uncomfortable question echoed everywhere. Is Chrisean Rock actually about to level up, or is this the most dangerous gamble of her career? Because chaos is entertaining. Discipline is terrifying, and when someone known for emotional explosions starts talking about structure, training camps, and one of the most lethal fighters alive, it stops being funny. It becomes suspense. The moment Chrisean Rock's name collided with Claressa Shields, the internet didn't gasp, it stopped breathing. Because Claressa Shields isn't a celebrity trainer you rent for a headline. She's a standard, a filter, a reality check with gloves on. She's the kind of fighter whose presence alone tells you whether someone is serious or just playing dress up with a dream. And suddenly, Chrisean Rock wasn't being discussed like a reality TV wildcard anymore. She was being evaluated like a gamble. That shift mattered. For years, Chrisean's public image thrived on unpredictability, emotional highs, explosive lows, moments that spiraled before anyone could grab a seatbelt. Chaos wasn't a side effect, it was the brand. And the internet loved it right up until it didn't. Because chaos is entertaining, but it's also limiting. It traps you in a character arc you didn't necessarily choose. So when word leaked that she wasn't just stepping into boxing, but stepping into Claressa Shields' orbit, people didn't know how to process it. This wasn't influencer boxing cosplay. This wasn't a YouTube undercard with sparkly gloves and rehearsed trash talk. Claressa Shields doesn't tolerate unserious energy. She built her career breaking through ceilings that were never meant to open. She didn't claw her way to undisputed status to babysit a celebrity experiment. So the first real question wasn't about Chrisean at all, it was about why Claressa would say yes. That's where the tension started. Supporters rushed in with optimism. They framed it as growth, as evolution, as Chrisean finally redirecting her raw intensity into something structured. Boxing doesn't reward emotional outbursts. It punishes them. It demands routine, sacrifice, silence, and repetition so boring it breaks egos before bodies. To fans, this looked like the first time Chrisean had chosen discipline over drama, and they wanted to believe in that arc desperately. Critics weren't convinced. They called it another headline grab, another attempt to spin chaos into credibility. They questioned whether Chrisean had the patience to survive real camps, real sparring, real conditioning days where nobody cares how you feel. They pointed out her history of impulsive decisions and emotional volatility and said boxing would eat that alive. To them, this wasn't a level up, it was a setup. And then there was Claressa Shields, sitting at the center of it all like a silent verdict, because Claressa doesn't move randomly. She doesn't lend her name lightly. Her involvement suggested vetting, conversations, expectations, rules, the kind of structure Chrisean has publicly resisted for years. That contrast made people uneasy. Either this partnership was about to forge a completely different version of Chrisean Rock, or it was going to implode in a way the internet would never let her forget. memes hit first, as expected. Clips of Claressa's brutal fights paired with captions like "Welcome to reality" and "Hope she's ready." Training montage stitched with dramatic music, predicting tears, tantrums, or transformation. People laughed, but the laughter had nerves in it. Because boxing has a way of humbling people fast, and Claressa Shields doesn't soften the lesson. Then the debate got deeper. Some argued Chrisean's intensity might actually be her advantage. Boxing history is full of fighters who came from chaos, pain, and instability. Fighters who needed violence with rules to survive themselves. In that framing, Chrisean wasn't an outsider, she was raw material. And Claressa Shields, known for discipline and control, might be exactly the kind of mentor who could shape that fire instead of letting it burn everything down. That idea unsettled people, because if Chrisean Rock actually commits, if she wakes up early, shuts up, trains hard, and takes correction, it forces the internet to reconsider the box it shoved her into. And the internet hates rewriting narratives it worked so hard to lock in. Silence from Chrisean didn't calm the conversation, it sharpened it. No motivational speeches, no defensive posts, no chaotic oversharing, just quiet. And in internet language, quiet can mean one of two things: avoidance or focus. With Claressa Shields involved, people leaned toward the second option, and that possibility made critics uncomfortable. Speculation about the fight itself exploded. Who's the opponent? Influencer or actual boxer? Exhibition or sanctioned? The tougher the imagined matchup became, the more polarized reactions grew. Some wanted Chrisean tested brutally to prove she belonged. Others worried she was being walked into a public humbling disguised as growth. Facts were scarce, but confidence was abundant. Boxing purists entered the chat next, and they were not gentle. They warned that boxing isn't therapy. It doesn't care about redemption arcs. It doesn't care about branding. It demands humility, consistency, and pain tolerance. They questioned whether Chrisean understood what she was stepping into, especially under the shadow of a fighter who built her legacy on making opponents mentally fold before the bell even rang. Supporters fired back just as hard. They reminded everyone that boxing has always been a refuge for the underestimated, that discipline can be learned, that people are allowed to evolve, and that writing someone off before they even lace up the gloves says more about the audience than the fighter. What made this moment different from past celebrity boxing announcements was the weight of it. There was no playful rollout, no flashy trash talk, no goofy promo videos, just a name drop that carried consequences. Claressa Shields isn't a shield you hide behind, she's a spotlight that exposes effort instantly. The pressure on Chrisean skyrocketed overnight. Every future appearance would be scrutinized. Every missed post would be interpreted. Every smile would be questioned. Boxing invites that level of surveillance because it strips away illusion. You can't fake conditioning. You can't fake stamina. You can't talk your way through a round, and that's why this felt dangerous. This wasn't a side quest. This was a fork in the road. One path leads to reinvention, discipline, and respect earned the hard way. The other leads to confirmation of every doubt critics ever stacked against her. There is no middle lane when Claressa Shields is watching. By the end of this first wave, one thing was clear: the conversation had outgrown jokes. The internet might still laugh, but it was watching closely now. Because whether this becomes a redemption arc or a cautionary tale, it's unfolding under one of the harshest spotlights possible, and once boxing enters your story, it doesn't let you hide behind personality, chaos, or excuses. The moment people accepted this boxing situation might actually be real, the tone online hardened overnight. Jokes stopped landing the same. Memes lost their punch. And the conversation shifted from "this is wild" to "this could go very wrong" very fast, because once Claressa Shields' name stays in the picture longer than a headline cycle, the internet understands something serious is happening behind the scenes. Clips of Claressa training begin circulating non-stop, heavy bags snapping like gunshots, pads cracking with surgical precision, conditioning drills that look less like workouts and more like survival tests. People reposted them with captions that weren't funny anymore. "This isn't influencer boxing. This ain't for vibes. Hope she's locked in. The laughter was gone, replaced by that uncomfortable silence people get when they realize consequences are real. Celebrity reactions didn't calm anything down. Athletes weighed in indirectly, posting cryptic messages about discipline, respect, and knowing when you're ready. Influencers tried to stay neutral while still feeding the algorithm, saying things like boxing humbles everyone or this might change her life, which somehow sounded supportive and threatening at the same time. Nobody wanted to fully co-sign it. Nobody wanted to dismiss it either. That hesitation spoke volumes. Then the boxing purists showed up, and they were ruthless. They accused the entire situation of flirting with spectacle. They reminded everyone that boxing isn't a redemption spa. It doesn't heal you. It exposes you. They questioned whether Chrisean understood the mental toll of sparring days, the exhaustion of roadwork, the humiliation of being corrected repeatedly with no applause. To them, this wasn't a storyline, it was a test she hadn't earned yet. Supporters fired back hard. They pointed out that boxing has always been a refuge for people coming from chaos. Fighters forged through pain, instability, and anger aren't anomalies, they're tradition. They argued that Chrisean's intensity wasn't a flaw, it was unrefined energy. And if anyone knows how to refine raw power into discipline, it's Claressa Shields. That argument didn't silence critics, but it made them pause, and that pause mattered, because the narrative quietly shifted from "this is a joke" to "this is a gamble." Not a publicity gamble, a personal one. People started reframing Claressa's role not as a trainer for hire, but as a gatekeeper. Someone who wouldn't tolerate nonsense long enough for this to drag on if it wasn't serious. That framing added pressure in a way no meme ever could. Speculation about the opponent exploded next. Fans debated whether this would be another influencer, a crossover celebrity, or someone with real hands. The tougher the imagined matchup became, the more polarized reactions grew. Some wanted Chrisean tested immediately, believing real adversity would reveal whether she belonged. Others worried she was being walked into a public humbling disguised as growth. Nobody had facts, but confidence has never needed facts online. Chrisean's continued silence during this phase unsettled people more than any chaotic post ever could. No motivational captions. No defensive explanations. No trash talk. Just quiet. And in internet culture, quiet is either guilt or focus. With Claressa Shields attached, more people started believing it was focus. That possibility made critics nervous, because focus changes the outcome of everything. Think pieces followed. Long threads dissecting the difference between spectacle and seriousness. Debates about women in combat sports. Arguments over whether celebrity boxing cheapens or expands the sport. Chrisean Rock became the centerpiece of a conversation much bigger than her, one she never volunteered to lead. She wasn't just a person anymore, she was a symbol people argued through. The pressure climbed fast. Every future appearance would be judged. Every missed training update would be assumed. Every smile would be questioned. Boxing invites this kind of scrutiny because effort can't be hidden. You either show up prepared or you get exposed publicly. There's no edit button. No spin cycle. What really changed the atmosphere was the growing realization that boxing doesn't reward intention. It rewards commitment. Wanting to change doesn't matter. Announcing growth doesn't matter. Only consistency matters. That reality hung over every comment, every clip, every debate like a countdown clock no one could see but everyone felt. Memes evolved again. Less clowning, more anticipation. Training camp arc loading. Rocky montage but make it chaotic. Jokes still existed, but they carried tension now. People understood that if Chrisean failed publicly after all this buildup, the internet would be merciless. And if she surprised people, if she showed discipline, composure, improvement, it would force a collective rewrite nobody was ready for. Claressa Shields' presence continued to loom large. Mentorship at that level isn't passive. It's expectation heavy, correction heavy, uncomfortable. Claressa's reputation is built on being honest to the point of brutality. She doesn't sugarcoat. She doesn't soften reality. That made people wonder how long Chrisean could tolerate being stripped of ego daily. Because boxing under Claressa isn't about hype, it's about humility. behind the scenes. This shift started changing how people around Chrisean moved. Chaos attracts chaos. Discipline demands distance. Growth filters rooms whether you want it to or not. The people who thrived in her unpredictable world might not survive a version of her that wakes up early, trains hard, and listens more than she talks. That transition alone can fracture relationships. Public perception was already adjusting. Comment sections felt different. Less joking, more watching. People weren't laughing anymore, they were waiting. Waiting for training footage, for conditioning clips, for signs of seriousness or strain. The internet wasn't rooting anymore. It was observing, and that's the most dangerous phase of all, because when the audience stops reacting and starts watching, it means they expect an outcome. They're no longer entertained by the process. They're waiting for a result. And boxing delivers results with no mercy. By this point, the story had completely outgrown its starting point. This wasn't Chrisean tries boxing. This was Chrisean steps into a world that will either remake her or reinforce everything people already believe. There was no neutral ending left. No soft landing. By the time the conversation reached its final stage, the energy didn't explode, it condensed. This is the part where noise turns into weight. Where jokes stop cushioning the fall. Where people stop predicting and start waiting. Because once training becomes routine and discipline replaces speculation, outcomes stop being hypothetical. They become inevitable. Chrisean Rock's decision to level up with Claressa Shields quietly rewired how the internet sees her. Chaos alone is easy to digest. Chaos with direction is unsettling. The audience that once laughed at volatility now had to confront the possibility of change, and that possibility made everyone uncomfortable. Not because growth is bad, but because it forces people to admit they might have been wrong. If Chrisean commits fully, the narrative flips hard. No more she can't focus. No more she's all emotion. Boxing doesn't care about personality. It strips you down to breath control, footwork, timing, and how you behave when you're exhausted and corrected. If she shows discipline, even imperfect discipline, the internet will be forced to reframe her entire story. And the internet hates rewriting a narrative it already monetized. But if she doesn't commit, the backlash will be surgical, not loud, precise. Failure won't be framed as learning. It'll be framed as confirmation. Confirmation of every stereotype, every doubt, every hot take that ever went viral at her expense. Boxing doesn't give you grace for. Almost. Especially not when a legend like Claressa Shields is standing nearby. That's the pressure no caption can soften. Claressa's role in all of this carries consequences of its own. Mentorship at that level isn't charity, it's reputation on the line. If Chrisean folds, people won't just critique her. They'll question why Claressa entertained the idea at all. If Chrisean improves, even modestly, Claressa's influence will be credited immediately. Either way, Claressa doesn't walk away untouched. This isn't a side quest for her. It's a calculated risk. Behind the scenes, this shift forces distance. Chaos thrives in crowded rooms. Discipline requires space. The people who benefited from Chrisean's unpredictability may not survive a version of her that wakes up early, trains hard, and listens more than she speaks. Growth filters relationships whether you want it to or not, and filtering always creates friction. Public perception has already started adjusting. The comments feel different now. Less laughter, more observation. People aren't cheering or booing, they're studying. Waiting for training footage, for conditioning clips, for signs of mental control or mental strain. Boxing invites that scrutiny because effort can't hide. You can't edit stamina. You can't spin footwork. You can't excuse poor preparation when the bell rings. This move also locks Chrisean into a lane she can't casually exit. You don't say Claressa Shields and then quietly pivot back to chaos without consequences. Walking away now looks like retreat. Pushing forward means accepting pain, repetition, criticism, and accountability at a level she's never publicly sustained before. That decision alone reframes her image. The most unsettling truth is that boxing doesn't care who Chrisean used to be. It doesn't care about viral moments, messy headlines, or public sympathy. The ring only recognizes preparation. That's why this moment feels dangerous and compelling. For the first time, Chrisean isn't entering a situation she can talk her way through or emotionally overpower. She has to earn it. If she does, the internet will scramble to rewrite history. Critics will soften. Supporters will claim they always believed. That's how redemption arcs work online. Everyone rushes to the winning side once the outcome is clear. If she doesn't, the same voices will say they called it from day one. The same clips will be replayed as evidence. Failure doesn't get grace online, it gets archived. Either outcome reshapes her trajectory. This isn't just a celebrity fight rumor anymore. It's a fork in the road. One path leads to reinvention built on discipline and respect earned the hard way. The other leads to reinforcement of everything people already believe. There's no middle lane when Claressa Shields is watching. The internet loves to talk about growth, but it loves collapse even more. And right now, it's waiting to see which one it gets. Chrisean Rock stepping into this world under Claressa's eye isn't safe. It isn't comfortable. And it definitely isn't accidental. Whether this becomes a disciplined transformation forged through pressure or a spectacle crushed by expectations, it's already bigger than hype, because once boxing enters your story, it doesn't leave quietly. It tests you. It exposes you. And it remembers everything. Whatever Chrisean Rock becomes on the other side of this, the internet won't forget where she started or how high the stakes were when she chose to step between the ropes. If you're still here, then you already know this isn't just another celebrity headline. This is a high-stakes gamble wrapped in gloves and pressure. Now don't play quiet in the comments like you don't have an opinion. Drop it below. Is Chrisean Rock really leveling up? Or is this boxing move a dangerous setup waiting to explode? Does training with Claressa Shields signal discipline and focus? Or is the internet hyping a moment that could crash hard? Say it with your chest. And while you're down there, smash that like button like it owes you money and just pretended it forgot. Likes tell the algorithm to stop acting brand new and push this conversation where it belongs, right into the feeds of people who swear they're not invested but somehow know every detail. If this surprised you, like it. If it stressed you out, like it harder. If you're secretly excited to see how this plays out, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe too, because scandals don't take rest days and neither do we. While other channels wait for outcomes and apologies, we track the build-up, the pressure, and the moments everyone pretends they didn't see coming. Stories flip fast, narratives change overnight, and you don't want to be late when the next twist shakes the timeline. Turn on notifications so you're early, not catching up through screenshots and rumors. Because when celebrities, boxing, and chaos collide, being late means missing the moment that changes everything. Stay locked in. Stay skeptical. Stay entertained.